All right. So it's Mental Health Monday, and I used to do chats like this before. I actually tried to do one on camera before on Twitch, and the problem was that for my audio to work for when I'm gaming with these headphones, um, I had to alter a lot of the settings for audio. And then I went and did a video and I didn't change any of the settings and used the microphone from my camera. And it was like the worst audio ever. I was not surprised after when I watched the video that nobody stuck around because it was awful and probably painful to listen to. Um, so hopefully this is better, just me wearing the headphones with the mic. Thank you. Whoa, wrong side. I've uh, I've worn those for shoots. And also, I love scary movies, and Friday the 13th is one of my favorite series, so I, of course, have one of Jason's masks. So, today I just wanted to, since it's my first just chatting stream, um, well, the first one where the audio actually works, and the first mental health chat that I've done on this platform, I wanted to just pretty much do a check in with everybody. See if people want to talk about how they're feeling and what they're going through because there's some stressful stuff happening in the world. Allow people space to vent, which you can also do when we're gaming a little bit later, but it gives you the space to vent here, talk about how you're feeling, and also wanted to possibly go over some things to help stay positive. Because staying positive can be really difficult when you're going through a lot. And it really does take hard work and effort to keep yourself positive when you're surrounded by so much negativity and you're surrounded by things that just are, quite honestly depressing and scary. Um, So, when reflecting on talking about the positivity, I was thinking about how I stay positive because I mentioned to a lot of people that I'm a philosophical pessimist. So, which I actually see more as being a realist, and that means that I know that things are bad. I know that happiness is something that's fleeting. All of that, but that doesn't stop me from being positive and happy. Flow. I made French onion soup, so I am not doing too bad today. Well, that's good. French onion soup is good. I know for you, Flo, making food helps you. Making food. Did I say fluid? Anyways, helps you feel good. That's something I actually like to do too when I have the ability is cook. And onions are good stuff. Onions and garlic, good stuff. So yeah, just doing things you love is one way to stay positive. Because I talk about creating the good chemicals, forcing our body to create the good chemicals. And that's something that does that, right? Is if you love cooking, then taking the time to bake cookies or, make French onion soup like Flo did, and things like that can help make the good chemicals. And you also end up with food. That's great stuff. And French onion soup's pretty healthy for you, right? French onion cookies. I don't think those would be too good. Maybe. I don't know. It depends. I wouldn't really work with it if you're doing like a sweet cookie. Can you make savory cookies? Is that a thing? Wouldn't that just be like a biscuit? Um, so yeah, keeping positive by doing the things that you love and make you happy. Gaming is another one, and we bring that up a lot when we're streaming Stardew, is how gaming can help make you feel Like you're not in the negative world and you're instead in this fantasy world that you're enjoying. Um, and you can focus on the problems in your game life instead of the problems in your real life. Uh, you never played a game in your life. So, gaming is one way to stay positive. But you also have to be careful that you're not just, like for me, there's been times where I was going through a really difficult time. So I tried using gaming to keep myself positive. But what I ended up doing was gaming too much and not spending time on things I needed um, to deal with the problems in my life. So it's got to be a healthy balance. uh, yeah, and yeah, so doing things that you love and focusing on the good feelings too, because all our feelings are fleeting, and that the good and the bad, right? So, although personally, I do think that our kind of like base state is not necessarily happy, but not necessarily like super depressed. Just like our base state is um, kind of like a flat one. And so we have to give ourselves the happiness. We have to make sure that we're feeling the happiness. So when you have those happy moments, make sure to hold on to that feeling. Make sure that you're embracing those good feelings that you're getting. And, that's, you can also reminisce about happy times and stuff. I like to do that. Think about, sometimes when you hung out with somebody or when you did something or that you really enjoyed. I am a huge scenery person. I love going and looking at pretty things. And so reflecting on some of the pretty places I've been and the feelings I've had while I'm there. I'll usually try and leave people, like specific people, out of my memories because that can get complicated. Like the positive memories that I'm reflecting on, that can get complicated because maybe that person is part of why you don't feel too good, or you don't want to build all of your positive memories that you reflect on around one person, and then maybe they pass away or something like that, and then you're trying to think of how can I make myself feel positive, and all of your positive feelings were tied to thoughts of this person, and that can be very difficult. That's something I dealt with when I lost my kitties a few years ago. Is they were my babies, they were my everything, and they were what I got a lot of my happiness from. So I, like when I wanted to feel positive and happy, I thought about, oh, I get to go home to them. And I thought about how silly they were and like had memories with them. And I obviously reflecting on that after they passed didn't really help with the happy feelings. So I had to pick something else. And that's where I mentioned lists before, and lists are something that's important too, because you can make a list of things that help you feel good. And that way you can look at it and go, well, on this list is memories of my cats, and that doesn't work right now. So I should focus on this other thing. And Black Bowie saying, I was watching another streamer play a game doing a fundraiser for Trans Lifeline. For all the bad, there's still a lot of good out there. Yeah, it's really nice to see people making those efforts to help people in whatever ways they can. Um, there's been so much negativity online too, where for all the people that are trying to do good, we have these assholes, for lack of a better way to put it, that are coming after people. I made a video about it that I posted. I'm pretty sure I posted that one, where I talked about how people are going to be defending what's happening right now and saying that we're all, like, people are overreacting and things like that with the stuff that's going on in the States. And that shouldn't deter you from doing what you can. I've also seen people calling, people are trying to post videos and stuff to keep people positive and to spread information to keep everyone safe. And then these negative people are popping into their comments saying, well, how about you go do some real activism? How, like you're just you're just a virtue signaler or whatever. And it's like, you don't know what this person's capable of. Like for myself, being disabled and also being in Canada, there's not much that I can do, unfortunately, to help people. And so I do what I can. And what I can do is, provide the mental health support on Mental Health Mondays, or make videos to help boost people up and help them feel good and help provide information where I can. I'm working on hopefully some videos where or posts that will have links for people to things that they can access and everything. And information for people, especially since information is starting to get taken down in the States and not be accessible. Sarah Z right now is doing a stream with a bunch of creators I love for the Transgender Law Center, and they are close to $100,000 raised. That's awesome. That is awesome. I love to see that stuff. I've been wanting to do a fundraiser myself, but haven't been able to arrange all that. Plus, I unfortunately also have to focus on my own survival, and so haven't been able to put something together. Plus, I don't think I tend to only have, at most like 5 or 6 viewers, so I don't think we're gonna make much of a difference. But I encourage everybody to go participate in those. They have Chuck Tingle as a guest right now. That's amazing. I love Chuck Tingle. I didn't realize he would be being a guest on something for this. That's really cool. So that's good to hear. Yeah, he is the best. And he manages to pump out so many books. So that's good stuff. That's some positive stuff to hear, and that's lovely to hear. That's one thing that's nice to see during all of this, is people banding together and working together to try and make a difference and get people the help they need. So that's lovely to see. It's been a little bit sad that a lot of the stuff, though, has... Hi! Glad to see you here. And good evening. Glad you could join. What was I saying? I think I was just saying it was nice to see everybody working together. Also trying to provide information as best as they can online, because there have been issues with people getting silenced on social media platforms who are trying to provide necessary information to people. But my contribution is, at least I can be here and try and support people as best I can. And the mental health space is always open for people to vent or, talk about what they need to. Look for support in the community, build community. I want everyone to feel safe here and comfortable. This is a safe space. So yeah, you can talk about what has been on your mind, what's stressing you out. We can all talk about what we do individually to help ourselves get through these things, like I said, so, which is important. I'm trying to remember, there was other things about creating the positive feelings. I think a big part for me, that was making sure that you don't just let those positive feelings go away, because that's how feelings work, right? We feel them and we let them go. And that's how you deal with negative feelings, right? You allow yourself to feel it, but then once the emotion has served you, you let it go and you move on. But those happy feelings, you should hold on to. You should find ways to extend them. So if you had a really nice day out, sit there and enjoy the feeling. Let yourself really enjoy it. That's, like if I go out and with friends, that doesn't happen often anymore, but if I went out with friends and I come back and I'm really happy and I had a really good time and I'm thinking about like, we had a great conversation and I felt really loved, then I'm not just going to move on and, just start focusing on other things. I'll allow myself to sit and like, I'm going to continue this feeling. I'm going to watch a show or something and, have some snacks and just think about what a great time I had and how much fun that was. Um, and I mean, you can do that with lots of things. Even like last week, I watched a movie and had popcorn, and it was the ability to pull myself out of the real world and into this fantasy world and not think about anything for that short bit of time made me really happy. And then just letting myself reflect on like how peaceful that felt, even if like, right now maybe I'm stressed out because I have a whole bunch of work to do, I can sit there and think about like that was a really nice day watching that movie. I should do that again soon. Watching films is a big way I find comfort. Anybody have any comfort films they revisit? That's a good question. I'm trying to think about some of my comfort films. Because mine change over time, but not really, because I can always go back to them, I guess. But I mostly have comfort shows, I guess, because if I'm going to put something on for comfort, usually a movie is too short. So thank you for the follow. Um, like Avatar, Last Airbender, is one of my comfort shows. It's a perfect show. Obviously, the cartoon, not the not the live action stuff. Although the newer live action show isn't the worst. Um, but yeah, the original cartoon definitely, as well as She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Is that the name of it? Um, that show I really love, and I feel like tackles a lot of topics um, that are important while also being very peaceful and being set in a fantasy world. Yeah, and also Adventure Time. That's another one that tackles like really, really good topics. Has some, actually pretty intense episodes that are emotional and stuff like that, and also is so much fun and so ridiculous and in this fantasy world that allows you to kind of escape the real world. I like to rewatch Hunter X Hunter from time to time. I'm not familiar with that one. Immediate thought from Avatar Last Airbender, Fufu, cuddly poops. There's yeah, Airbender's really great for relaxing, while also having important topics. And then Korra, being the other Last Airbender show, also is pretty good. So those are definitely some of my comfort shows to put on. I also like listening to some podcast type things. Lately, yeah, Legend of Korra, that's what it is. It's good stuff. Definitely worth finishing. And I have some fan theories about Legend of Korra that I'm rather passionate about. Um, so I love that that's one thing is if rewatching Legend of Korra because I have these fan theories about some things, I'm able to focus on like I want to double check this evidence I have towards this fan theory. Um, and get to rewatch the scenes and be like, yep, definitely seems like that. Um, but yeah, I've been watching or listening to, well, watching too, because they have video, the Distractable podcast with Markiplier and what is it, Wade and Bob? Because it is good for just distracting for the most part. Sometimes there's episodes where I feel like just personally, like it's not that they're actually talking about anything bad, but like they'll be talking about something that in that moment I'm like, this is kind of triggering for me. I think I'm gonna switch. But they have a whole bunch of episodes And the episodes are all just supposed to be fun. Um, so it's a good way to like actually distract yourself. Um, so I really like podcasts and stuff like that. And it feels like you're just listening to a bunch of friends talk, which can be very comforting. For me personally, I think maybe it's just from being around, being in a household with lots of people and stuff when I was younger and everything. I like having that feeling that you're sitting in a room with a bunch of people talking. It's comforting. It makes me feel safe. Um, and like I said, they tend to steer away from things that are too intense. So yeah, what other shows? Anybody else have uh any shows or films that they use for comfort and escape? I really like fantasy for that. Actually, for films for escaping and comfort and stuff, probably like the Lord of the Rings movies is one. And Flow, I have games I go back to. Yeah, games are another one, especially since you're actually actively in the game, except for some Final Fantasy games where it's more like watching a movie. Um, when you're actively like in the game, it helps remove you from like the tense feeling of where you currently are. Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorites um, for that, even though it's really dark. That was something I talked about, and the Mage Village is something that I find really peaceful, and I have saves like I used to when you'd have save slots on your PlayStation. I'd have a save slot for the Mage Village. Um, and Flow, my comfort game is Bloodborne and Black Bowie. Cyberpunk is my biggest comfort game right now. And Flo even has a Bloodborne tattoo. Destin Aria depends on the mood as far as film, but shows is that 70s show, Big Bang Theory, also like Hawaii Five-O and NCIS. Nice. And Final Fantasy VII was your favorite. I haven't played Final Fantasy VII, the remake, but which I do want to try out sometime. But I absolutely loved the original Final Fantasy VII and played through that a few times. My favorite Final Fantasies are 9, 10, and 12. 7 is great, 6 is great. And I enjoy 8, and there's some fan theories with 8 that are interesting. How do I even say that? Nier Automata is also one of my favorite games, but not comforting. uh, and it's funny because we've also talked about how like horror can be comforting. Um, so like so you're saying that the game is sad. Flo's mentioning that the game is sad, and so that's why it's not comforting. But at the same time, that can be really like cathartic and therapeutic. Um, I really like games that bring out emotion in you, and we very often like stifle our emotions and don't want to allow ourselves to feel things, and we might not let ourselves cry or not let ourselves feel bad about something. And so playing a game that is sad and makes you cry or feel like actually do these things, and you're in this personal space with the game where you don't have to worry about being judged for it or anything like that, that can actually be very therapeutic. um your tomato. But yeah, the horror is one thing I always use to relax. I've had some friends and family kind of laugh when I've been like, I want something on to relax to feel peaceful and to distract myself, and I'll be like, let's put on a horror film. Um, And I have some theories because, like, I'm not the only one that is comforted by horror. I'm less comforted by horror games, but part of that is because of my heart condition. So depending on the game, though, because like Layers of Fear and stuff is just fun and great to like it's immersive and stuff. But then other games that like focus on mostly jump scares and stuff don't make me feel as good. And I might enjoy playing them on their own, but I I don't because of my heart condition. It makes it really hard for me to enjoy those ones. Yeah, exactly. Like certain horror games give me really bad anxiety and are fun to play when I have like friends I'm playing them with, but then like if I'm trying to just relax, it's not a good idea. Whereas like just watching a horror movie, I don't think I've ever encountered a horror movie that like I would be like a hard pass on if I'm not feeling good. The big three slashers are definitely comfort films for me. Freddy and Jason all the way. Yeah, like the old horror, the slashers, those are all good. Um, Flo, I love horror games, and the ones I play vary from gory horror to I feel mentally and emotionally devastated now. uh, yeah, and horror games too. I like watching other people play horror games because it's the immersion that makes you kind of anxious and stuff, right? So um, I like watching other people play the games, and I actually enjoy watching other people who are super scared by them because that's usually pretty funny. But I don't like it when it's me that's super scared by them. Shout out to the cat lady. I've wanted to play that game for a while and haven't had a chance. It's on my list. But yeah, the all the original slashers, uh, the original slashers with their sequels, because the sequels tend to be really camp and like really fun and silly, and while also being horror movies, which is a really nice combination for distraction and feeling better. Mm. I'm trying to think of other horror. Yeah, the cheesy and campy horror is good stuff. Um, and then I also just like horror that is really well written and thought out. Like Mike Flanagan comes to mind. A lot of his work is really good stuff. Like it holds you, it keeps you invested, and then it has the scary parts to it. But it's very emotional too. Picturing Freddy with the power glove. So yeah, all this kind of media and stuff is great for helping us remove ourselves from the tense situation because it can be overwhelming, right? When we're dealing with so much. And I'm going to keep using what the states is going through right now as an example. I mean, you end up surrounded by things that you can't really escape. And so creating your escape by watching these movies and playing these games um, is perfectly fine and a very useful tool. And speaking of original Nintendo, I love, you know, loading up an emulator and playing some of those old games. Um, there's something about um, being able to go back to something that you played as a child and revisiting it as an adult, and you're able to pull yourself back into that innocence. And I mean, I didn't have a great I didn't have a great childhood to reflect on, but in general, when you're little, you have a feeling like more of a feeling that you're cared for and more of a feeling that you don't have to worry about some things and you can just play your games. It's a time before you had to worry about bills and you had to worry about politics and stuff for the most part. Because I also grew up in a household where news and politics were very important, and so I did have that. But you know, thinking about the fact that your biggest concern for the most part when you're little is you got to do your homework, and you're just excited for the weekend to get to playing your games, and then you get to play these games. It's part of why I want to sometime soon I want to try playing Banjo Kazooie. I was going to stream it. It's one of my childhood favorites, and I think it's on the list of games that you can use with crowd control. So I thought that would be fun because I have very fond memories of just escaping the world, sitting in the basement with my N64 and playing Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie, and loving the music and having the game book open with the walkthroughs and stuff. We were talking about game books the other day in one of my streams. Um, so I'd love to get back to that feeling. That's part of when I do my Saturday morning cartoons. That's what it's about too, is the nostalgia and the, remembering and feeling that peace. I love 3D platformer Collectathon. One of my favorite in recent times was A Hat in Time. Banjo was a blockbuster rental. Rental stores in general are great nostalgia. I've noticed a lot of people posting on like Instagram and stuff with videos of them making homemade blockbusters where they just like either just have a shelf or maybe they have like a small room where they put a bunch of shelves and they do the whole like blockbuster cases for some VHSs or whatever, and then set it up like it's a blockbuster. Hat in Time was mainly inspired by Banjo Kazooie. Oh, I'll have to look that up. I don't think I know anything about that one. Hmm. Yeah, that's on the topic of creating the blockbuster things in your own home. That's creating the safe spaces in your home that again make you feel good. Um, is something important. I guess in general, like the topic I'm kind of covering today is knowing how to make yourself feel positive and creating the spaces that can help you do that. And I have talked about that a lot, and I talk about it a lot because it's extremely important. Because there's a lot of, you know, in future mental health Mondays when I'm talking, I'm probably going to read a little bit from my favorite mindfulness book, which I think has a lot of good tools. There's a lot of things like it gives you exercises to practice your mindfulness and everything like that. And in the future, I think we're going to try and go through some of the exercises together, and um, focus on like what they mean and what we can do to help ourselves. Um, but in general, like a huge thing, like I keep saying, is that in order to grow, in order to do better, in order to work on ourselves, in order to help ourselves, we need to give ourselves the tools. And a big part of that is creating our safe spaces. Um, and so, safe spaces, community, um, things like that are extremely important. I would argue the safe spaces themselves are more important because community can come and go. Sometimes they can fail you and things like that. So having things that you can fall back on that make you feel good, that you can control and you're responsible for, is very important. Um, because like if you have a space in your home that is like a beanbag chair with your books and a lamp, and you're able to have snacks and stuff, that's one way that like it's all within your control, right? For the most part. Obviously, if you don't have money at the time to get snacks or something, maybe that's harder. Or if you have ADHD and you have trouble reading, but then, figure out other ways that you're able to accomplish that feeling. Because, first of all, for me with reading with ADHD, um, I came to a realization that I end up taking in more information than I realize. Like, I'll read and then I'll be like, I missed a huge chunk. I don't remember this. And I'll get to the end of the book and be like, I don't remember half the book. And then I'll feel like, what was the point in reading it? But then if I try to talk to somebody about it, I remember a lot more than I realized. And then, even that aside, isn't it better to have read half a book than no book at all? So I just read the books, and then, if I want, I'll reread it. And then also taking in media in different ways. So, like, I can read a book myself, I can listen to an audiobook, watch some kind of adaptation of it or something like that, so that I can still get that good feeling that I've been reading and I took in this media. Anyways, I've been ignoring the chat. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That is a really good one. I've watched that a few times. That's really fun. Um, Definitely a good relaxation horror movie. Uh, Makes me think of The Room and Jeepers Creepers. Jeepers Creepers. It was funny when I watched Jeepers Creepers, like way back when it came out. I remember watching it and being like, "This is not that scary. Like, I don't care about this." And I'm like, it wasn't. It was a fun little movie, but I was like, this isn't scary. And then for some reason, I could not get Jeepers Creepers out of my mind when I had to, because we went to the cabin that my family had in the wintertime, and you couldn't get the cars all the way into the cottage. You had to stop them at a certain point on the road and then walk in or take an ATV or a snowmobile. And I was sent back to the truck to get some things out of the truck, but it was already like midnight. So I went up with the ATV, and because you're in the middle of nowhere, everything's dead silent. It's pitch black. The only light I had was the headlights and the tail lights of the ATV. I had to pull up to the truck and point the headlights of the ATV at the truck. And then I walked up and opened the cab, and I had to put the keys in to get the light to come up on the inside the truck. And for some reason, right then is when I thought of Jeepers Creepers, and I like started to panic. And I'm like, I'm in a fucking horror movie right now. This is terrifying. Like, this is a setup in a horror movie where I die. And I panicked and just like shut the door and ran back to the ATV and left. Uh, and then, yeah, having a space in your mind is helpful too. Um, the Dave Cave, yeah. Um, I have a space I go to in meditation. I have a few spaces actually, but my original space uh, is very specific, and I would meditate to get to it. And to help myself get to the space, I always watch Butterfly in my mind, because in the space I'm sitting under a tree that's next to a river, and the river comes from a waterfall that's falling out of the sky. And how I get there is I imagine I'm watching the butterfly, because if focusing on that one thing helps pull me into the world. And then I can sit there and be in this space. And I haven't gone back there in a little bit, but it's a nice creation within my own head, that I can go sit in and relax. Check out Deathgasm and Scout's Guide to Zombie Apocalypse. I think I've watched. Is Deathgasm the one with the metal heads? Might be mixing that up. Oh, Flo's sleepy. That French onion soup was just too good of a meal. Not to mention that warm soup, like when you're, I don't know, for me, if there's something about like if you have warm soup, um, it really makes you sleepy because you have your tummy's all warm and full, and warm soup is one thing that, like, if I know I'm going to bed soon and I want something to eat so that I'm not hungry when I try to sleep. I'll have soup because it's nice and warm in my tummy and helps me sleep. Oh, and you baked homemade bread for it too. I love homemade bread. I actually have been meaning to make some. Making bread is something that is also a thing that I have enjoyed doing for my mental health and actually helps with some problems I have because I have damaged shoulders and things like that. And as long as I'm careful and I don't push it, kneading the dough and stuff can actually kind of help my shoulders because it gives them a bit more motion without the motion being in a direction that's painful for me. Because, like, putting my arms above my head and stuff is painful, but like the motion down and the pushing down, I get to stretch out the areas that usually hurt. And it's very relaxing kneading bread and stuff like that. So yeah, so we've talked about using film, shows for escape, gaming for escape, how horror's great for creating positive feelings, even though it seems counterintuitive. I also have a theory that part of it is because you're focusing on a different problem, right? So um, if you're watching a horror movie, then you're focusing on solving the problem of this slasher killing everyone or whatever. And you're also watching other people go through the problem instead of yourself. So it's less stressful. So you're taking your focus off of the things around you. And in general, like if you were actually being chased by a slasher or something, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be concerned about the other little stresses in your life, right? Your main focus is going to be, I don't want to get killed by this slasher. Um, I don't know why I want to play Dead Space now. Dead Space was good. Poor man's nachos got me happy. Poor man's nachos. What's involved in poor man's nachos? I actually haven't had nachos in a long time. That's another good comfort food. Um, I've been trying to perfect a vegan cheese sauce that's actually made with like carrots and potatoes, um, and nutritional yeast and stuff. So yeah, so safe spaces in films and movies, safe spaces within your own head, creating a space that you can go to during meditation. Um, I've mentioned reflecting on positive memories of things that you've done or places you've gone to. Um, and we've talked about doing things that make you happy, like cooking has come up. Because you also get food, you get comfort food. I find miso has a decent cheesy taste, surprisingly. I have seen in a lot of vegan recipes to add miso paste um, to them. And there's some of them, there was like some kind of like, I want to say citric acid, but that's not it. There's some kind of acid thing that you add and that apparently also makes things cheesier. Your comfort food is pizza, hot wings, and Chinese food. Those are really good. Pizza is definitely one of my comfort foods too, and Chinese food. I haven't had wings in a long time. Um, I need to find a good vegan one. Actually, that's not about a year or two ago. I tried these like frozen cauliflower like hot wings, but they weren't actually that great. And I want to try making some at home that are better. And yeah, Chinese food is always good. And I had a whole like spread of Asian food, like general Asian food. I don't know if it would all be considered Chinese. Um, when Squid Game season 2 came out. Uh, and that's another thing to keep yourself positive. Um, making sure you have things to look forward to is very important too. So not only just making these safe spaces, but maybe you should um, plan stuff around them. So, for example, for me, the watching shows and stuff. Uh, Sometimes, if I'm going through things, also watching shows with people that I can relate to can really help me. So, Squid Game is one where everybody's dealing with financial issues, and right now everybody's dealing with financial issues, myself included. So, watching a show of people who are fighting through all of these things and dealing with like the horrors of capitalism actually is very comforting to me. So when Squid Game 2 came out, I did like a whole spread of making like vegetable fried rice and sticky rice, and um, I made chow mein, and I think there was more stuff. But yeah, just a whole spread so that I had that all day. Squid Gang. Robert Eggers doing a werewolf film for next Christmas. Interesting. Thank you for the follow. The follows keep spooking me because I have the volume in my headphones turned up. So yeah, and I also being able to focus on little dates you have with yourself, or you can have them with other people, but little dates you can have with yourself that you can look forward to. Um, can help make you happy, help distract you. And it's good to take care of yourself that way. And just in general, a lot of fun. So I talked about I watched a movie the other day, and it sounds simple that I just had popcorn and watched a movie, but it was a musical, and I specifically got like popcorn that's like movie theater popcorn, and had pop and stuff with it, and that specific combination, that flavor of the movie theater popcorn while watching, this theatrical thing was very fun for me. And being able to plan, like, hey, I'm going to do that again, so I'm going to pick which one I'm doing. And then I also do like themed foods with different things. So, like, I think I've mentioned before, way back in the day, I use Rome as an example, the show Rome, um, because when I watched Rome through the entirety of it, I had I made homemade bread, like various homemade bread, like challah and stuff like that. And um, trigger warning mentioning alcohol here, but I'd also drink Manischewitz wine with it, and the combination of the like bread and wine. Game of Thrones is another like bread and wine type show, but they also have lots of food in general. And then Lord of the Rings, I love in the opening with the hobbits and stuff, I would have what I call my chickenless chicken dinner, which is like all the fixings of a chicken dinner but without the chicken. So, stovetop stuffing that has no meat and stuff in it, cranberry sauce, potatoes, green beans, all that stuff. And I'd have a big spread, and I would eat that when watching the hobbits. Okay, but what about second dinner? Yeah. And having lots of little snacks for things like that. So lots of shows have food throughout them. So figuring out what food is in something. I meant to look up. I doubt it exists. Maybe I should make it if it doesn't. But like there should be like a site or something where like people list what foods are in what films and shows, so that if you haven't watched something, you can go look up what foods are going to be in it so you can have it. And another thing, I had ramen too with Squid Game, because in the first season he has the uncooked ramen with the guy outside the store. Uh, you watching Silence of the Lamb? Wait, I have to eat what? um, well, you could also do mock things like for stuff like that for like Silence of the Lambs, because I already make like vegan versions of any of the meat dishes that I see in the shows and stuff. And I mean, you could just make a mock version of brains and stuff, and have the proper wine and everything, um, so that you can be more immersed in it. I also like trying to time it with the movie so that you're eating what they're eating around the same time. Uh, Vegan long pig. Yeah. Back when I ate cheese, one thing when I like we're talking about food movies, there was, I think it's the second Ninja Turtle movie, so mixing the nostalgia, that comfort of the nostalgia, and of watching something that I love. Um, I would watch the second Ninja Turtle movie because it opens with oh my god, you just said it too. So yeah, pizza and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, because I'd get the super cheesy pizza and then have it with the second one because in the opening they're all eating the pizza from the pizza place. Um, I don't. My pizzas aren't as cheesy now. Well, obviously I don't use. I only use the vegan cheese, but my pizzas don't. I don't like cheese on my pizzas really anymore. The original teenage. Yeah, what's funny about the original um, Ninja Turtles cartoons is if you want to eat pizza along with them, you definitely should like do some mock stuff because their pizzas are really gross. Because if you pay attention to the types of pizzas they're eating, they have some really gross toppings. I think I have seen Mutant Mayhem. I've is that is the one with I'm trying to think of this because one of the newer animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I absolutely loved, and it's definitely one of my favorites. I'm trying to think of like a key thing in it that was to identify it, and I can't. But yeah, one of the yeah, because it was a different art style. I think we're thinking of the same Ninja Turtles movie. That was a really good one. Yeah, with the New York hip hop soundtrack. Yes. I don't know if I noticed that. Did I notice that? I don't know. I have horrible memory, so I think we're talking about the same movie. I cannot remember if Jackie Chan, if I even noticed if Jackie Chan was voicing a voice in it. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we're thinking the same movie. Um, that's one thing that's been nice to see is because people of our generation are adults now, which I guess would happen in most generations. Um, we have people who are artists and creating things, creating, media that consumed the media we did when we were young. And so we get to um, have these like nostalgic movies that are new. John Cena voices one of the characters in Mutant Mayhem too. Huh. That is interesting. So yeah, we get, new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm trying to think of other ones. There's been a few, but stuff, pops up from our childhood that we absolutely loved and would have used to relax, and we get to feel that nostalgic feeling while also getting something brand new, um, which has been very nice. I used to love the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons and comics. I think I used to watch the Sonic cartoons. There's a few cartoons that from like back in the day that I've forgotten that I'm being reminded of lately. Um, if I remember correctly, I know I played the Sonic games. Um, and I believe I watched the cartoon. Speaking of Jackie Chan, I used to watch the Jackie Chan Adventures cartoon too. I haven't seen the new Sonic movies yet, but I wasn't interested at all, and then um, slowly I've gotten more and more curious. I also want to check out the newer, is it Ducktales? Yeah, the newer Ducktales that's come out. 80s, 90s action cartoons. Such good cheesy fun. Definitely. Definitely were. And it's so great to revisit them. And it's so funny actually to revisit them because you have series of reactions you possibly have, which includes watching an old cartoon that you remember being absolutely hilarious, and then you watch it and you're like, this is not good. This was not good in any way. How did this even make it on TV? Um, or like being like, this is amazing. I can't believe I didn't keep watching it over the years and I totally forgot about it. Yeah, and the intros to the old cartoons were always really good stuff. Anyone remember Darkwing Duck? That was one that I actually rewatched some episodes relatively recently, like a couple years ago, I think. So I've forgotten it again. But that was one from my childhood. Yes, Darkwing Duck was good stuff. And hello, welcome to the chat. Oh yes, Gargoyles was another one. That's another one that I rewatched relatively recently. Cyber Six. I do remember that. Yeah, I keep forgetting that some cartoons and stuff were very specifically Canadian. Um, and that's an interesting thing that I discovered once, we got internet and we started talking to more people, and you're like, hey, remember this cartoon? And you say it to an American and they're like, we didn't have that here. Oh yes, in Reboot. Um, I actually rewatched Reboot. I was taking a programming course and decided that to treat myself after each lecture, I would watch an episode of Reboot and have French fries. Um, I also, for another course, rewarded myself by rewatching Charmed and having French fries. And what is your question? Band Citizen Soldier. Not, I don't think I'm familiar. I'm really bad with names in general. Hmm. On the topic of bands, music is another good escape and good thing to make you have good feels, and also a good thing to help bring out the difficult emotions. I think most people do that where they put on like there's a song that makes you cry type of thing. So when you're feeling sad, you put the song on, and it's people, it seems weird to like be like, I want to feel better and I feel sad, so I'm going to put on a sad song. But I think to an extent that actually is quite useful, because if you're feeling sad and you're having trouble allowing yourself to feel that feeling, then putting on a sad song, letting yourself cry, letting yourself work through those emotions while hearing lyrics that like lyrics or music in general that you feel really matches your mood, um, can feel really good. But then you also have to make the effort to put on something uplifting after. And I think that's where some people kind of make a mistake is they start listening to sad songs and then they just spend the entire night listening to sad songs. And um, the way you should try and do it is listen to your sad songs, let yourself feel it, and then switch to some more positive things, like some songs that make you want to dance or songs that make you feel happy. They are a band that presents an accessible message that combats stigmatization and provides a group therapy dynamic for mental health. Interesting. I will have to check them out. I know there's. What is the. For mental health, a musician I am familiar with. Sorry, I'm looking up her name. Ash Blackwood was one that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And she makes songs that are very helpful for mental health. I'd recommend people check her out. I mean, the style might not be for everybody, but once in a while I like to put on one of the songs. Ash Blackwood, I think it is. Yeah. Ash with two H's. She does songs that focus on, you know, throwing out the negative feelings and um, trying to be there for yourself and not being too hard on yourself and um, things like that. Every once in a while, I like to put on some of her songs and and give them a listen because they can help work through it. There's something about having somebody like with music in particular. I guess the difference between like music and like watching a show that's uplifting and stuff. Um, Stepping away to eat dinner. Well, enjoy your dinner. This stream's probably going to end soon, and then we're going to be doing Stardew shortly. Um, but yeah, so the difference with music and with film would be that music feels almost like more one-on-one. Feels like the person is speaking to you. Also, thank you for the follows, everybody. Music feels more like it's speaking to you, and there's something about like you can find the songs where the lyrics feel like somebody's going through the same thing as you, or they know exactly what you're feeling, and they're speaking about it to you, and it helps you feel less alone and helps you feel like there's somebody who understands you. And for me personally, anyways, music is extremely powerful for me. Um, Music can completely change how I feel. And music can make me feel stronger or make me feel like I have community or make me feel like people understand what I'm going through and or people care what I'm going through. Recently found a song called Grow by Face Soul. Face Soul? Yeah. I wanted to listen to more of his stuff, but that song has been on repeat for days now. Another one I'll have to check out. I need to keep track of these and check them out later. So, speaking to the fact that this was, I've only been streaming for just over an hour, and I'm probably going to be stopping shortly. Every Monday, every Mental Health Monday, we do Stardew Valley from 9 until midnight, where we can have a nice peaceful farm with crowd control so everybody can participate and help out. And the point being to create a nice, calm, safe place for people to. You can either just come watch a nice farm, or you can use the chat to vent. And we keep talking about mental health stuff. And I, in the past, on other platforms, had been streaming Mental Health Mondays where I would do chats like this. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I tried to do it once and had audio issues. And so hadn't done it in a little while. So this week, this one, I just wanted to test the waters again to make sure that it would be worth doing again. I'm glad everybody showed up and participated in the chat, because that's what this is supposed to be, is participation. I didn't want to just be sitting here with nobody really here. So I do think, especially in the current political climate, it's important for us to have a space like this. So every Monday I'm going to be trying to do this. I'm probably going to be doing it sooner though. So this week we started at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And going forward, maybe we can try 6 o'clock next week and go from 6 until about 8 or 8:30, and see if that's enough time for us to chat. I think that would probably be a good amount of time. But this week was more just testing the waters and making sure people would want to come into this space. Flo mentioned Undertale is another good comfort game. And Dave mentioned Artful Escape is a great game too. Undertale, I'm not... So I know Undertale, it's on my list. And it's very interesting. I love the different kind of style of combat, is because the different options you have and the different things that happen. Artful Escape, off the top of my head, I can't think of what game it is, but it sounds familiar. But that might just be my brain fog. I might be very familiar. So, with that said, I think we're going to end this chatting stream for now. We're going to be going forward and doing this again. Make sure to give me a follow, everybody. We're going to be trying to do this on Mondays. At the very least, it's going to be every other Monday, but I might end up doing it every Monday. And I would love to hear from people about what they would want to talk about in the mental health space. And any ideas on like themes for the day and stuff like that. And yeah, I love people participating. And if there are weeks that nobody wants to talk, then I will be reading and stuff from this book, because it's great stuff and has great exercises, like I said. Goodbye Volcano High is a great game, but holy fuck, I cried for the last 30 minutes of it. Well, I think that's a sign of a great game, is when it can really make you emotional. Flo wants to talk about where to hide the bodies. Flo, we'll talk about that later. I got you. All right, so thank you everybody for joining me. I'm going to go take a short break, and then I'm going to be back in like 40 minutes or so. I'm always late, so whenever I say 40 minutes, assume a bit longer. I'm going to be back a little later tonight, probably 40 minutes or so, with Stardew Valley, so that we can get to work on the farm for Mental Health Monday. And if you can't join us there, then just have a great rest of the night. And I hope everyone's doing well. And remember to take care of yourself, and that self-care and making yourself happy is just as important as any other kind of work. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't have time because I have to be there for everybody else who needs me right now, how are you going to be there for them if you don't take care of you? So I will hopefully see you all next week for Mental Health Monday or later tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining me.